Hello, Mrs. Mack here. Today we are going to do a primitive cylinder in Fusion. The last project you did was creating a box, and that was called a primitive box. But we took the primitive box a little bit farther and we rounded the edges and we added a hole to it. But the first steps that we did was all making just a primitive box. Today we are going to make a primitive cylinder. So first thing we need to do is we need to check to make sure our view cube is oriented correctly. So here's my Z, my X, and my Y. That is the orientation it should be in. If that is not correct, then you're going to need to go up to your profile, click Preferences, and then you're going to go here where it says Default Modeling Orientation. You want it to say Y up. You'll click Apply and OK. And then at that point, you'll need to open a new design tab in order for it to take effect. Okay, once you have your view cube correct, you want to go over to your document settings. Just like with the primitive box, we are going to use millimeters. So my document settings right now is set in inches. I'm going to click on the icon to change my active units. Once I have the box open, I'm going to unit type. I'm going to change this to millimeters. And click OK. Now I am set to begin my design. I'm going to go to my data panel. In my data panel, I'm going to find my IED Designs project. Inside of the project, I will have my Unit 1 folder. I'm going to double click that. You should see your 1.2.2 My First Project, which was the primitive box that we added some things to. Now we're going to go over to our toolbar up at the top. We're going to go to File. We're going to go down to Save. In the name, we're going to call this Primitive Cylinder. Okay, we want it to be saved in IED Designs Unit 1, so that's all good. If for some reason your location is not correct, you need to go over here to this drop-down arrow and find the correct project folder under here. Okay? Once you have everything correct, you can just click Save. Give it a moment. You'll notice now that you have a new design in your Unit 1 folder. Under your browser, this is now named Primitive Cylinder, and your Design tab is now titled Primitive Cylinder. So now we want to go up to our toolbar. We're going to go to the Create tab. I'm going to click on the arrow. We're going to go down to Cylinder. We want to use the Cylinder tool. Click on Cylinder. Now we need to select a plane. If you open the Origin drop-down here, you'll see all the different origin points and planes. So a couple different ways that you can find the plane you need. Today we're going to be using the XZ plane. So you can hover over each plane and you'll notice that it highlights it on the design canvas, or you can actually hover over on the design canvas and it'll highlight in the browser. We want the XZ, which is going to be this one. Once we have our plane selected, we want to place our center point. And my center point I want to put right there where my X and my Y axes meet. So I'm going to place that, and then I'm going to just draw a circle out. And right now we're not worried about the size, so we're just going to click anywhere so that we have a cylinder. So when we did the box, I showed you how to force in dimensions here in diameter and in height for the text box. You can also click and drag on the arrows that are over here. And so if you know a specific number you want, it's easier to put it here in the text box. However, if you just want to kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like, you can click and drag on the arrows. Okay, so what we're going to do on this one, I want the diameter. Let me see, I want the diameter to be 50. And I want our height to be 35. And we're going to keep with new body. Okay, and then we're going to click OK. We're going to go back up to File. Now we want to export this. So you'll click Export. You're going to make sure it's called Primitive Cylinder. You're going to do Autodesk Fusion Archive Files. Should be F3D is the extension. You want to go to these three dots here at Location. Remember, you want to find your OneDrive. So you're going to find your OneDrive. You're going to find your IED Fusion. Did I make one? I don't know if I made one in mine. You're going to find your IED, there it is, your IED Fusion folder. And you're going to save that in there. I'm just going to click Save and then Export. Now it is in your OneDrive and ready to be exported, or I'm sorry, ready to be uploaded into Canvas. Okay, we're going to do one more. Next thing we're going to do is a sphere. So what I'm going to do, I'm already in Fusion, so I'm just going to go to a new design. So next to my Primitive Cylinder Design tab, I'm going to hit the plus key, or the plus tab, and it's going to give me a new design. Right now it's called Untitled. I'm going to go up to my file. I'm going to click Save, and I'm going to call this Primitive Sphere. Again, I'm going to make sure my location is IED Designs Unit 1. And I'm going to click Save. Before I get started on this, I do want to double check. I can see that my view cube is still the same, but I do want to double check my settings. My document settings went back to inches. I want this in millimeters. All of these primitive shapes we're doing in millimeters. So before I start actually creating the shape, I need to make sure that my units are set to millimeters. Click OK. Now I'm ready to go. So now I'm going to go on up to Create, and I'm going to go down to Sphere. Again, I'm going to click a plane in order to create this on, and I do want my XZ plane again. We will use the XZ plane very often. If you notice, when we use the XZ plane, it builds the object from the bottom up. Okay, if you use the YZ plane, it's going to end up bringing it out sideways. Same thing with the XY plane. So you choose the plane depending on what your design intent is. So we're going to do the XZ plane. Next thing we need to do is we're going to place the center point. And I do like to keep my center points as much as possible where the X and the Y axes meet. So I'm going to click, and I'm just going to, once you click, it's going to create the sphere for you. Okay, so I'm going to back that up real quickly. I'm going to do that again. Sphere, XZ, click, and that's where it's going to end up doing. So again, we have the little arrow handles here, so you can click and drag to create whatever size you want. For our purposes today, we are going to make this 80 for our diameter. Click OK. Then you're going to go on over and you're going to do Export. You're going to make sure the name is Primitive Sphere and do Autodesk Fusion Archive Files. You need to make sure you are in your OneDrive, so your location needs to show your OneDrive in your IED Fusion. If your location does not show your IED Fusion OneDrive folder, you need to click on the three dots, find your OneDrive, and find the IED Fusion folder. Mine is already there, so I can just click Export. And now once again, my design is ready to be uploaded into Canvas. So at this point, you're going to go ahead and get into Canvas. You're going to upload your cylinder and your sphere for today.